Hi, this is Katie and today we're going to be making this really cute little ring. I'm going to show you how to size it to get to your size, and also how to add a few more gemstones if you wanted to do, and you could make different widths of this as well. So you could make this so it wasn't just a solitaire, you could make it so that you can add more gemstones in there. So at the back we have 3 bands. That's going to make it nice and sturdy, nice and smooth, nice and comfortable to wear. We've got wraps at the side, and then we've got this opened out area in the center where we've added the gemstone with just some really nice simple wraps. So what we're going to need. So we're going to need some tools. So I've got some chain nose pliers. I've got 2 different sorts. I've got some nylon jaw pliers. That's mainly just to pull a bit of wire if I need to. You don't actually need those. It's just something that I have handy, so I may use them, I may not. And you're going to need a ring mandrel. So I prefer a steel ring mandrel. What you don't want is the ring mandrels that have the like missing parts in them. They're more of a ring sizer. So the ones that have the missing parts sort of down one whole section, that's going to be no good for this. You need a full round ring mandrel. You can use the plastic ones, absolutely fine. I prefer the steel ones just because they're a little bit more sturdier. I will be working in UK ring sizes. The ring sizes are quite hard to see sometimes on my ring mandrel. I think you can just kind of see them there. This is kind of the section I use most, but I will be working in UK ring sizes. American ring sizes I do not have a clue about. I'm being honest with you. It's a very different sort of numbering or lettering. I think it's a numbering system. So I'll be working in UK sizes, but all you have to do is do a quick little search on a browser and you will find a comparison. So it's absolutely fine to just do that. Don't complain at me please in the comments. I'm from the UK. These are the sizes that we use over here, so this is what I will be using. So the other thing you're going to need is some wire. So I will be using 0.9mm, which I know is your 19 gauge in your US or American gauges, and I'll be using some 0.4mm, which is your 26 in your US gauges. So I've got about 30 centimeters of the 0.9mm for the ring shank and to do those wraps on the side. You will be cutting some off. Please don't try and go shorter because you're just making it harder for your fingers really. So anything that you cut off you can use, don't throw away. You can use it for all sorts of little bits and pieces. And some beads. So I've got some larger ones. That's a 0.6. That's probably as big as I will go on this one, unless you really fancy it going a bit bigger, because it does protrude slightly. We don't want it to sit on the inside, because if it sits on the inside it will change the size of the ring. So it does protrude slightly. So 0.6mm is probably the biggest I would go personally, but you can put some smaller ones in as well. So we're going to get moving and get going. I'm going to move a few things out of the way. I'm going to need our ring mandrel and just move a few things just to where I need them to be. Okay, we're just going to pop that little piece of your 0.4 to one side. You probably need about 15 to 20 centimeters of that, but just check any offcuts that you've got, because they probably do. So what I'm going to do is, let's just find the ring sizes on here. They are hard to see, I know, and this is the bit that gets warm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a Q. So I'm going to work on this line here, which is my Q line. Let's see if I can, you can just see it there. There is a Q there. What this is going to do is it's going to go smaller by about a full size. So a full UK size. It's going to get smaller because what we're going to do is we're going to pop these wraps on the inside of it, and that's going to take it down by a full UK size. So I'm going to start wrapping on that Q. Just see it just there on that Q, so that we can make that P size. So I've wrapped, going for about the halfway mark. I've wrapped all the way around. Don't worry if you're not quite halfway, because you can kind of jiggle it as you go around. So I've gone all the way around and they've just crossed each other, gone past each other, staying on that nice line for the queue. I'm going to come all the way around again, let them cross over each other, but make sure we're not crossing that way, just crossing past each other. And then now you should be able to see you've got 3 full circles, full wraps on this side, and then you're going to bring this around to the front. You can see you've got those nice tails waiting for you there. Just take it back to that queue size, hold it on there. It will have loosened a bit as you've come round, but you can just pull on those wires and just tighten it up onto that queue size. So just there, and give that a little bit of a pull. Now what I want to do is just choose one of the sides. I'm going to go with the one that's closest to me here. Just make sure it is separated so it's at the right side, so they're not going to cross over, as in go across and across the bands. So I've just got this bottom wire here. I know I'm just going to want to leave about, if we look at this here, it's just over 1 centimetre in between these, but we're just going to deal with one side at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that will come over the top of these wires. It'll make sense in a second. So I'm just going to grab that wire with my chain nose pliers, and I'm coming across the other wires. Okay, I'll show you that closer. So what I've done is those wires are coming nice and parallel to each other, and then just where I want it to come up, so that I'm going to leave this little gap here, I've just taken it so it goes across the opposite wires. I'm not going to do the other side just yet because the size may change, and that means I can still make an adjustment at the other side. So now I've got this, I'm going to take the ring mandrel out, and you can see this is what we've got here. I've got my ring size there. I want to keep hold of that, so whenever I have to let go, I'm just going to make sure I use both hands and keep that in place. I'm supporting it on the inside with this finger here, supporting it on the other side with this finger over here, and I'm going to work on this little band that I just brought round on this little wire here. So this wire is going to have to go in the middle of the ring and come out the other side, but we want it to be really nice and neat on here. Now this is quite tricky to do. It may take you a few practices if you've not done it before, but I want to support it as close to where I took that wire across as is possible. I'm going to start just by bending the top of the wire and pulling it through like so. Don't try and bend it straight down here because you won't be able to get the other end of the wire through. And I'm just pulling it a little bit at a time, taking my fingers out, assessing, making sure nothing's moved. Okay, if you look at my fingers, I just take that off, look how hard I'm gripping. I'm really holding that, so really hold it. Now what I don't want is it to look like this around here. I want it to be really nice and neat, and for that I'm going to go in with my pliers, just nibbling it, just not fully compressing them, but just nibbling away at it. I don't mean nibbling as in eating, I just mean it's just like that little at a time. Yeah, so it's come all the way around, and you can see how that's a lot neater and closer. Now I'm going to do the same again, so I'm going to bring that wire around. Okay, don't try and just pull it with your fingers, you will need to use your pliers and adjust and move things around, tighten it up. Use your pliers as an extra kind of stronger set of fingers, really. So really utilize the tip of those pliers and just keep manipulating it until you can see that round is nice and tight now. Now we've gone in and around twice. Now this time I just want this wire to lay nice and neatly across the front, so let's just straighten that out. So I just want it to lay nice and neatly across the front. I'm just using that strength that I have in my pliers just to make that lay nice and neat. Now I'm still supporting the other side. I've not let go yet. I'm just making sure, holding everything. I'm happy with the back. So have a look on the inside of this. See how they're just slightly separated? I'm just going to use my pliers just to bring those together. Okay, now I'm happy with this. I'm still holding everything because it's still kind of like a bit like a coiled spring. So, and now I'm happy with this side, and I'm going to cut it, and I'm not cutting it on the front. This is going to be the outside, so that would be the front. I'm not cutting it on the inside, because if I cut it on the inside, it's going to hurt your finger. If I cut it on the front, it's definitely going to catch your clothes. So I'm going to cut it on what is the top or the bottom edge. So I'm cutting it on that edge there. And then that way I can just make sure, just using my pliers, especially once I've got the other side in, I can just kind of nibble that end in and just turn it a little bit, just so it's curving around. It's still a bit sharp at the moment, but I want to finish the other side first. Now I'm going to pop it back into my ring mandrel. Okay, we want it to kind of just be above that queue, because we've already got the sort of allowance for this little bit here. So I just want to be just above it, just making sure I'm happy with where that wire's going. Nothing's crossed over. Everything's still sitting really nicely. Okay. So just make sure you don't put this in and go all the way down to that queue again, because you've already got some wire on the inside and you're not going to go up the full half size. So really you want to be in between sort of the P and the Q. Okay, so now we want to look at the distance. If you want, you can just pop that back in there. We want to look at the distance we want for our little gemstone. So let's go with one of the smaller ones that we've got here. So looking at the one that I've already made, I left quite a nice distance between those. So that distance between the two wraps at either side is the distance that I left. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that, this wire is coming along the top. So it's on this top side here. It's going to come across just like we did with the opposite side. So I'm going to hold this and bring this across just so I've got that nice little gap. It will depend on the gemstone you're using. Please don't ask me to give you an exact, because it will depend on the gemstone you're using. So you just got to think you want your gemstone to sit in the middle, and there should be that little gap at either side. This time I'm going for a slightly smaller gemstone, so you can see there's a slight difference in the width that I've left. I can take this out. I'm going to hold it so that the tail is at the top, just to make it easier for me. And we're going to do the exact same thing again. So we're going to come through, holding and supporting everything still, even though we've got that other side in and nice and tight, we're still supporting. We want to make sure this angle stays nice. Make sure that we're happy with this. And again, just going backwards and forwards, taking your time, making sure you're happy with your first sort of wrap round to start with. Making sure you're happy it's sitting nicely at the back. That's still sitting a little bit loose. So I'm just going to use my pliers just to tighten that up a little bit. And I'm just going to pop the wire through again. So that's the second time through. Again, I'm going to use my pliers, use them as little extra strong fingers. So use that tip of your pliers just to kind of bring that through and be happy with that. That's sat really nicely. You can see that's sitting nicely at the back as well. And then again, I'm just going to take that up to the top like so. And I've just got that nice gap in the middle. This one's going to be a little bit harder to open up when you see in a minute, but we'll get there. And again, I'm cutting it along the side. So I've got my ring, my wires at the front, my wraps around at the front, and I'm cutting on the side, flush cut, so that the flush side of my pliers is closest to my work. And again, I'm just going to nibble that end in. Make sure we're really happy with that. So we've got a basic kind of ring. Let's pop it on. We've got really nicely in between those sizes, in between that O and Q, which is perfect for sizing. The size won't change now. Now what we need to do is open this out a little bit. Now it's going to be hard. You're going to kind of have to get in there with something. You might want to use a little pair of pliers just to kind of open this up a little bit. We don't want to be damaging the wire too much, or at all really. I'm just going to wiggle that in so you can see I've just got that in. And what I want to do, especially if you've got these little narrow pliers, is I want to just kind of get my pliers in and open that up. So I'm happy that I've got in. I'm just gonna, just with my hand a little bit, just gonna open up them pliers a little bit, just so I've opened up that little gap. It will tighten up very, very slightly around the ring shank, but it shouldn't be too much. It's still in that middle mark. I'm happy with that. So obviously, the bigger the gemstone, the wider you will do this. So you can see the difference there. There's that little bit of difference in the width. This is a 6mm. The gemstone I'm going to pop in this one is a 4mm, and what you want is for it not to drop all the way through. So now we can add our gemstones. So I'm going to pop on my wire, on the bead onto my wire. So let me move a few things out of the way. So I've got the bead onto my 0.4mm wire. You're only going to need for this size gemstone about 15 centimetres, probably not even that. I've probably got a little bit too much here. And I'm just going to lay it exactly where I want it to be. So I'm just going to lay it there, and the bead is in the middle of my wire. So I've got working length at each side. So I've just laid that in the centre there. And I'm just going to wrap around this top side, so the side that my wire's on. I'm just going to wrap around once and twice, just to kind of get an anchor wrap, just to get started. Happy with that. And then I'm just going to, don't worry if the gemstone moves, just make sure they're nice and together of those wraps. Now I can just pop that gemstone back. And this time I'm wrapping down this side. So can you see I've wrapped on the opposite sides, and that wire's going through that bead in the middle. So that's all we're doing, and just wrapping this on. So I've come through and wrap those together. Just make sure that they're nice and neat and tight together, and that gemstone is fixed in the centre. Now what I could do is I could add, if I had some smaller gemstones, I could add at each side by channel setting. Now I have got a video about channel setting, which would make it really, really simple for you to understand channel setting, or maybe I will do another video with this design and do some channel set gemstones in there. We will see. Let me know if you would like me to do adding a few more gemstones in here and channel setting. But for this one, all I'm doing is wrapping down at this side. I'm not going to wrap that top wire because that's kind of the design feature of this. It's the opposite sides that are wrapped. Now what I don't do is I don't wrap right into this corner here. I just think it makes it awkward for yourself. It could make your wires not sit nice and look a little bit messy. I just don't like going right into those tight corners with wire, because it's just setting yourself up for a bit of a messy end. I'd rather it finish really nicely and not go right into that end. I'm just going to turn this around and wrap this side. So again, I'm wrapping the side that the wire came out on. You can count these wraps and make sure you do exactly the same. I tend to eyeball it and go with what looks right. It usually is right, because your eye will it should just see really if anything's unbalanced. I'm really happy with this. I really like that gemstone. It's a coloured, it's got a dye on it. It's a hematite faceted, and it's got some colour on it. It's really pretty. So just make sure you're happy with the amount of wraps you've got on each side. And again, it's the rule of kind of working with wire. When you're doing rings, we cut on the edge So here, so flush cut onto the edge, go in with your chain nose pliers and just smooth that edge down. Again at the opposite side, flush cut on the edge and go in with your chain nose pliers and smooth that down. Now just take a little bit of time, just make sure I can feel just a little scratch on there. So I'm going to go in with my chain nose pliers and just make sure that little edge is squished down. I can kind of roll it around the edge that tiny bit. There we go, can't feel that now. Just check the opposite side. Can't feel anything, but I'm going to give it a squish anyway. So there we go. Really nice, pretty ring, really secure. It's gone down a whole size. Let's pop it back on. So it should sit nicely in between. Can you see you can see the S there. There's a Q and an O there, and it's sitting nicely in the middle, so I know I've got the right size. So it's gone down one whole UK ring size. If you want the comparison, there are lots and lots of comparison charts for ring sizes on the internet, readily available. You don't have to buy anything, just click on images and you'll see comparison charts, really nice and easy. The same goes for wire gauge. Just do a quick search. It's quicker actually to just search wire gauge chart than it is to send me messages. But if you look below the video, there is a little wire gauge conversion for not for ring sizes, but for wire gauge on this video if you look below. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to like the video, let me know, leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I aim to do hopefully 2 videos a week, but sometimes, like this week, we've had Easter, I've eaten lots and lots of chocolate, and I've had my little boy's birthday as well, so we've had a few days out, so we've had lots of fun. So this is your video for this week. This is a really nice, beautiful design to make, nice and quick and easy, and you can just add all your different coloured gemstones. Great one for using up your beads as well. So take care, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.